This presentation is on Sergei Rachmaninov's All-Night Vigil, opus 37, written in 1915. For a bit of historical context, Rachmaninov was born in Onega, Russia on the 20th of March, 1873. He was the son of a retired army officer and the grandson of a Russian army general. Eventually, Rachmaninov made his way to Moscow, where he entered the Moscow Conservatory, from which he graduated at the age of 19. Although his first symphony, which was written in 1895, was not well received by critics, his piano prelude in C-sharp minor, which was written in 1892, and his piano concerto No. 2 in C minor, which was written in 1901, really put Rachmaninov on the map. Other notable works include his Piano Concerto No. 3, which was written in 1909, and his Rhapsody on a Theme of Paganini, written in 1934. Rachmaninov was gutted by the outbreak of World War I in 1914, as he had a significant connection to Germany and a great appreciation of German culture. This was due in part to the fact that he had spent several months each year from 1906 onwards composing in the German city of Dresden. It was out of this angst that he was feeling regarding the political upheaval in Germany and also the national turmoil in Russia that was occurring at the same time that Rachmaninov produced his seminal choral work, the All-Night Vigil, in 1915. Some say that this is the capstone of the golden age of Russian choral music. Next, I'd like to give a quick overview of the All-Night Vigil. Structurally, this work is broken into 15 movements, which follow the liturgy of an all-night Russian Orthodox service. Thematically, the 15 movements fit into two other services, the first 6 movements fitting into the Vespers service, which is a service which happens at the end of the day, focusing on light fading into darkness, Christ's death. So a lot of death and darkness sort of themes in the first 6 movements. And musically, Rachmaninov writes music to fit that. And a good example of that is movement number 1, Come Let Us Worship, which I will play a short bit of now. The remaining movements, movements 7 to 15, generally more thematically fit into a matin service, which is a morning service, focusing on darkness fading into light, dawn, Christ's resurrection. And so, of course, these movements generally are a bit more upbeat, joyful, and jubilant. And a good example of that is movement number 8, Praise the Name of the Lord, which I will play for you now. Rachmaninov in this work follows the conventions of Russian Orthodox music. For example, the work is a cappella, and this is out of respect for the Russian Orthodox position of not having accompaniment in liturgical music. So this work is just for unaccompanied choir. Secondly, the work is very text-centered. The Russian Orthodox Church placed a high value on being able to understand the words of a song. So there's not a lot of polyphony in his work, which makes the text much easier to understand. Thirdly, he employs or uses existing Russian Orthodox chants as the sort of center of a lot of the melodies of the different movements. Movements 2, 4, 5, 9, 13, 14, and 15 all are based on existing Russian Orthodox chants. And finally, he employs the standard voice ranges of Russian Orthodox choirs, including the use of basso profundo. The lowest notes that happen in the work are low B flats, and the highest notes for the sopranos are not actually that high. It's only a top A. Now I'd like to do a quick musical analysis of the fifth movement, Nunc Dimittis. This was actually Rachmaninoff's favorite movement, and he actually asked if this movement could be performed at his funeral. Structurally, it has a ternary form. There's an A section where the tenor soloist comes in, a middle section, and then an A section again where the tenor soloist comes in to finish off and round off the piece. So it's soprano, alto, tenor, bass with the tenor having a solo, and it's based around a B flat tonal center. So B flats are very common in the piece, as well as the main melody for this piece is based on a key of chant that was set for this text. And I'll play a short bit of it here for you now. Continuing in our musical analysis of the fifth movement, Nunc Dimittis, I'd like to point out a few key elements of this movement. First of all, there's a repeated descending cadential figure that is used throughout this movement. And the use of a repeated cadential figure is a characteristic of key of chant, another instance of Rachmaninoff paying homage to the Russian Orthodox Church. This repeated descending cadential figure is a simple descending third from a D flat to a B flat, underscoring yet once again the B flat center tonality of this piece. And it's repeated 7 times in the movement. And you can see a few examples there in figure 2, anywhere from the tenor solo to the soprano to the bass, having that D flat, C, B flat movement. So that's one element. Another element of this piece that I'd like to point out is the lying down motif. This motif contributes to the mood of death and darkness that this piece sort of encapsulates. The lying down motif is 2 slurred crotchets, as you can see in figure 1 there in the tenors and altos, the first being stressed. And this provides sort of a fitting downward movement, possibly Rachmaninoff was thinking of a body being lowered into the grave. And finally, this piece ends on a low B flat in the basses. Rachmaninoff knew it was low, but he said of the low ending B flat, "I knew the voices of my countrymen, and I well knew what demands I could make upon Russian basses." Lastly, I'd like to discuss the reception and the legacy of Rachmaninoff's All-Night Vigil. The All-Night Vigil was premiered in Moscow on the 23rd of March, 1915, and it was an immediate success. In the month following the premiere, there were a total of 4 more performances of the piece. It was that popular. However, after the Bolshevik Revolution of 1917 and the subsequent ban on all religious music in the USSR, the piece lay dormant for many years. However, that all changed in 1965 when Alexander Sheshnikov made the first recording. This happened in Russia. However, the recording was clearly only for educational purposes. However, after that, there have been over 30 commercial recordings made, and the work continues to be recorded and performed all over the world.